Welcome to Red Reviews. We're back. It's been a long while. Last time I talked to you guys, I was in the process of moving, and as you can see behind me, if you watched any of my early reviews, a little bit different background. We finally got everything all rearranged and unpacked and reassembled here into our new studio. So this is where we're going to be doing our reviews from now on. We got a lot more space to cool, move around, do things. Just a lot more area to breathe in my one-bedroom apartment where I was living before. So with that, I've been a little bit busy. Plus, there's been a little bit of a dry spell I've noticed at the theaters. Nothing's really caught my eye, and it's really strange because usually I'll pretty much watch anything, but nothing has really drawn me out to want me to go spend the $10 to go to the theaters. So I haven't been to the theaters since Spider-Man Homecoming, I believe. For someone like me who goes to the theater a lot, watches a lot of movies, it seemed like it's been years since I've been to the movies, when it's only been about 2 or 3 months. But Stephen King's It was one I definitely wanted to check out. It was on my radar. It was on my calendar. Apparently, I'm not the only one. I didn't know how popular it was. I knew the original miniseries, made-for-TV movie, the one with Tim Curry. I knew it kind of has its own cult following, but I didn't know how big it was. There was quite a few people at the theater. I was surprised for a Thursday showing. But it's been getting really good reviews before me. Let's see if it passed my test. This isn't going to be one of those reviews where I talk about, well, in the book they did this. I've never read the book. I've never attempted to read the book. It's a rather lengthy book, so it's not an endeavor I've attempted to tackle before. But I have seen the original miniseries. I'm going to draw some comparisons just because that's my reference point, but it isn't going to be like, well, in the original one. And for some reason, I don't count that as, maybe it's because it was sort of the made-for-TV, the mini-series. There's like a two-part TV event, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not, I don't really consider this a reboot or a remake. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because the original one's not really considered a movie. I mean, by definition, it's a movie, and by definition, this is a remake, I suppose. But for some reason, I don't feel like they fall into those categories. But I'll draw a few comparisons just because that's what I've seen. That's where my knowledge of the It and the Pennywise and the Losers Club comes from. So it's my reference point, so I'm going to draw some comparisons. The 2017 version of It, I will go off and say that it is a really good movie. It's a fantastic horror movie. We seem to be getting more, or at least I say not more, but better horror movies in the last couple years, especially with like Get Out. And I like to Cure for Wellness. Some people didn't. I rather liked to Cure for Wellness earlier this year. And what I thought that this one and, Get Out, A Cure for Wellness, and some of the other ones that have come out in the last couple of years, it's not your hack and slash. It's not your killer slasher. It's not we're going to a camp. There's a killer stalking a girl, and she's, they might do some drugs and they're going to die. There's rather formulaic to that. It's not torture porn. And those can be fun, like The Purge and Saw, and those can all be fun. It's not some of those, I got a ghost, paranormal activity, sort of a ghost invading my house sort of thing. Those have their genres, those have their moments, and they have their place in horror. But lately, I feel like we've been getting a little bit smarter. Audiences themselves have gotten smarter, so I think the horror genre should adapt with the audience. And I feel like movies like It, like Get Out, they do appeal to that smarter audience. Because we all have the internet, we all have, much more self-awareness of these movies that they didn't have, when they're making the original Jason, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. The teens are just there to die. Now we have more of a self-awareness post-Scream world of how things are supposed to act in a horror movie or the horror genre. So I like that horror is taking a different direction. And Stephen King is definitely a writer that tends to write in that direction. One thing that Stephen King tends to do in his stories is he likes to bring these group of kids together. He does it in, of course, It. He does it in Stand By Me. He does it in Dreamcatcher. He likes to take these ragtag group of kids that, for lack of a better term, and he uses in this one, are losers. They don't belong to any certain club, and in that, they are the club themselves. They have no one else to turn to, so they just turn to each other. And he's really good at developing these characters. You get really good character development when I see Stephen King done right. There are so many Stephen King movies and adaptations that are not done right. But when they're done right, like, say, The Green Mile, The Shawshank Redemption, you get these very well-developed characters, and this is no exception. I thought the kids were very well done. I'm sure they are in the book, and they are really well done in the movie. I love their interactions. They interact like kids. They don't interact like kids in a movie who are actors acting like kids. They seem like kids acting like kids who have these extreme circumstances happening to them. So I thought that was really well done. I do believe at the end of this movie, it does allude that this is chapter 1, meaning, of course, there will be multiple chapters. In the original miniseries, it sort of flashes back and forth. I know it tells the kid's story and it tells the adult story, and then it flashes back and forth in between, telling both the kids and the adult story of how they come to fight Pennywise. What I thought they did really well in this one is they only focused on just the kids. Don't worry about the adults. We'll get to the adults. We'll do their movie next, but I thought just focusing on just the kids, learning of Pennywise, learning of the history of Derry and the awful things that happen, seeing the events of what Pennywise brings to town, the horrors and fears that he has, and seeing how the kids deal with that through a kid's eyes is so much different than how an adult would do it. So I thought that just focusing on the kids was great. And like I said, when they have to cast for the adults in the next movie, they are going to have their work cut out for them because the bar has been set fairly high. Because I thought the kids once again did a very good job. Some, of course, get a little more screen time than others. Some of them get a little more dialogue than others. That's just the way when you have to divide a group like that. But I thought everybody did either a serviceable job all the way up to a fantastic job. Now, when it comes to Pennywise, this was the one aspect I was hesitant on. I figured as much that the kids would do all right. They're actors and they get paid to do a good job. And they did just that. And the bullies, I thought, did a great job too. And that's one subject that I'm glad that they decided not to pull any punches on, because I know bullying can be a subject that's kind of issue to touch on. So I'm glad that they go ahead and go full bully, go full extreme. You see these kids doing awful things to other kids, and it should make you feel uncomfortable because it does. But Pennywise, I had the reference of Tim Curry. At the beginning of this movie, it plays out much like the miniseries does, with you see Georgie with the boat going down the curb. It's raining outside. It goes into the storm drain, and that's where we first see Pennywise. We see first Georgie and Pennywise meeting, and a lot of those interactions, that whole sort of setup, and even some of the dialogue is right from the miniseries, or probably right from the dialogue in the book. So to see someone else, this new version of Pennywise, saying these lines that I knew Tim Curry, that I enjoyed his performance saying, it took a little bit getting used to on how they were going to bring this new iteration of Pennywise to the screen, what his new tics are, what his new areas are when he comes to toying with these kids. And I wasn't sold right there at first, but as the story went on and developed, I got used to the new look of Pennywise. So if you're going in and you've never seen the miniseries, then you're going to love this version of Pennywise. If you're used to the Tim Curry and you're a hardcore Tim Curry original Pennywise fan, it's going to take a little bit to sort of feel comfortable with this new version of Pennywise. But by the end of the movie, he does such a good job terrorizing these kids that you're going to forgive him and you're going to fall in love with him, even though you definitely shouldn't, because there's nothing to love about this clown. He is an evil. He is evil incarnate. One thing that I was curious if they would do, and they did do, and I'm glad that they did, and you get a little hint at this in the miniseries, is that all the parents in this town are scumbags. For one reason or another, they don't ever believe the kids that Pennywise is an issue, or, like there's hinting of molestation going on, or sort of putting fear into your kid, saying that he has this disease and he needs to take these pills, and if he goes outside he's going to get hurt, shutting in your kid. Or just like when the parents or when the adults will go by a horrible thing, like the bullies attacking one of the kids, and they just don't stop. They just don't care. They mind their own business. They don't want any part of it. They don't want to get caught up in this. So I've always been curious about that angle, if it should delve deeper into the story. I like when sometimes stories don't delve all the way into it. They just hint at things. But I would like to know a little bit more on why all the adults tend to be scumbags. I imagine it's for the sake of the kids, and the fact that in the story the kids can never turn to any of the adults because the adults can't be trusted. So they really only have each other to confide in and to deal with Pennywise. So they have to band together to go after this greater threat. So I said Pennywise, once he grows on you, is fantastic. There's some great horror. There's some great disturbing images in this. So if you're a horror fan, you're going to love it. If you're not so much a horror fan, you're going to get a great story out of it. You're going to jump out of your seat too, but you're going to get a lot of great storytelling because a lot of time is spent with the kids developing these characters, which really pays off when it comes to towards you don't want to see anything bad happen to these kids because you spend so much time with them, getting to know them, getting to care about them, that now you're fully invested. You're along with the ride. You feel like you're part of the Losers Club. So I thought the It movie, I just like, because like everyone asks, what are you gonna watch? I'm gonna go watch It. You're gonna watch what? I'm gonna watch It. So it's a great title for a movie because it gets really confusing so fast. But I thought It was a great movie. It's a fun time at the movies. Horror, I love the direction it's taking. I hope that they can sort of take this now that they've actually made a really good Stephen King adaptation. And they've done it before, like I said, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and others. Misery, The Shining. There is some good ones, but for every good one, there's also a handful of bad ones. So hopefully they can sort of maybe start adapting more of his stuff. Because I think once you start adapting a lot of his stuff, you'll start to see a lot of what Stephen King really is. And he is really good at horror. Do not get me wrong. He is really good at horror and scaring you. But you also get these great character interactions, this great character development, great storytelling. And that's the foundation for any movie. So if we can take these movies and books that he's written and turn them into really good movies, then I think it's a win-win all the way around. We'll create the Stephen King shared universe. Everybody gets a shared universe. Stephen King's is up next. I look forward to watching many more movies now that we're back up and rolling. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time right here on Red Reviews.